Third time's the charm. It's Laura from Tucson, Arizona. I'm Yarn Closet AZ over on Instagram. I have a blog on Patreon called The Yarn Closet. You can follow it for free and get free downloads of crochet, knitting, loom knitting, and what to do with the sock tube patterns. You can also support the podcast over there. You can support the podcast through PayPal, TheYarnCloset at yahoo.com. And that will help us get more engaged in some knit-alongs and some tutorials, and better set up for that, because a lot of people want it, but I'm just not equipped at this point. And I want to say thank you to the people who have been over and supported. It is very appreciated, and the continuation has just blown me away that I've had people month after month value what I'm doing here. Moggy Kitty is on Ravelry, and we're getting some of the patterns uploaded over there, but they will be for like $1 or $2, because that is a challenge for us. That is a challenge. A friend and I were just talking, and her site's almost gone. She started out, she had moderate sight, became legally blind like in her teens. But you know, I'm legally blind, I'm really functional. But sometimes certain websites are hard to maneuver, and the accessibility stuff that we can use doesn't make it easier when you're at this stage. And she was talking about that. She was talking about how when she could still see enough to register certain things, her braille tag in her shirt that said red, blue, pink didn't really matter. But once she lost enough sight, all of a sudden she could function in those places so much better, in those web pages with accessibility, using some of the braille stuff that we use to label things. And that's a weird middle ground that we get into as people going through, I don't know, the process of disability. Because disability, people think, you know, oh, that person's in a wheelchair. Their disability is like, it's done. It's this. But there's a process of disability in almost every single disability. People who lose their hearing, they lose it gradually. There's a middle ground where they don't really get any help. Then, you know, it's really bad. And eyesight, people with other kinds of issues. It's absolutely a process of disability. It's not like just one stagnant point you get to. It's constantly coping with change and how things do change and adjust. But anyway, thanks for being here. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the participation. It does really motivate me. Along with the 2 paid knitting things I've had so far this year. I'm so excited. Wouldn't that be great if I got a little more of that this year? It's still chilly here. I'm so happy. To the point that I've even looked up on Amazon outdoor heaters. I like to say I'm a Minnesotan, but I don't know if I could really survive a winter anymore. So my first paid project was, remember that little turtleneck I was trying to make out of the ochre yellow? Well, I took a few of things over and dropped them off at school, because when I have prototypes, that's what I do. Magnus, stop talking to me. Go lay down. I drop off the prototypes, some like coffee cup cozies, and these fit little girls' heads very well to keep the hair back. And one of the moms was so excited because her daughter kept it on all day, and normally she wouldn't, that she asked me to make more, and she said she'd pay me. Now the thing is, She doesn't understand that the one she got out of a tidbit of cashmere yarn I had left over, and some of these are mixes of merino and cashmere. Can you let him out? She doesn't understand that the quantity is like a mini skein quantity. It's like $8 for just the yarn. So I'm probably not going to get paid for anything more than the yarn in my projects that I'm going to do this year, but I think doing all these littler projects over the last 6 weeks has really been interesting and fun. So I did up, she wanted a couple of pink ones, a yellow one, a blue one. I didn't have really fun blue yarn, so I threw in an extra that's red and blue. And they're all slightly different. You know, some are ribbed on the edges, some have garter stitch, they've got some little details, basket stitch, pearl bump rows, just something to keep me going and interested and get them off the needles quickly, which I did. I started immediately Friday when I got home from school and finished late last night, about 7 o'clock. And in the interim of the weekend, we also took loads of furniture over to my mom's storage unit because they're staging their house. They're staging their house so dramatically that she's like, I can't even live in it. So they might go over to the base for a couple of weeks. And I'm waiting to hear, they were over doing their paperwork this morning, so I'm waiting to hear all the details on move-in days and stuff. The market here is insane. They're going to sell so fast. And I used to be a realtor briefly, because when you can't drive people around, you can't be a realtor. But in the state that I was living in, you had to have a license to work in a realtor office, even as the office manager, which is what I was, / receptionist, because it was small. But I did sell a house. And then in Wisconsin, I did help a realtor friend do a lot of staging, which was fun. Oh boy, and they stage here. They stage. Plus they're downsizing. And their move to this last place was downsizing. So we were busy, and trips to the dump and some furniture from their house, going to my other dad's house. And he was a bit under the weather, talking to him about some stuff. Just got Prue on the schedule. She's going in to go under next Monday. So put out all the prayers you can for her that day and us, because that's going to be nerve-wracking. And my parents had to go through me going through eye surgeries and things as a kid. And it's going to, I mean, I applaud all those parents that have to deal with that. It's stressful enough to have a kid that has allergic reactions spontaneously to things. Yesterday, she came home from the park and part of her face was swollen. We don't know what it was. So yeah, that's going to be a big day. Big day. But that was a really fun thing to kind of keep me going throughout the weekend. And Prue, thought it was really neat that I was getting paid to do this. And I explained some of the other things I'd made in the last couple of years that she could remember, and explained how I got paid to do those things. I'm very good at finishing. I'm very good at fixing in crochet and loom knitting. Oops. I'm trying to get there in my knitting because I know that finishing is, it can make or break a project. And I think it's something that we all have to spend more time at. And if you spend more time at it early on, you'll really enjoy learning the new thing. But I wanted to explain what my second project is. I'd given my mom a prototype pair of fingerless gloves. Oh, and I guess I forgot to weave in that end. It's just a bind off and a bind off, and they curled over, and really easy and fast. And if she was out somewhere that was really cold last Saturday night watching music. They have a ridiculous social life. And so she wore one and her friend wore the other, and her friend's like, I'll pay her to make me 2 sets. So that's what I'm doing today. So my mom gave me that one as a prototype. She won't need it. So I started cranking some tubes. This is the bonnet that you first attach to the machine. Then I cranked this with a hung hem, long tube. I'll be able to do one of those with a hung hem, a folded cuff, and then I'll also be able to do one that has just the rolled side. Then that was 50 grams. Here's another matching 50 grams so that I didn't have to take it off the machine. And because I didn't split the 50 grams to just do hers, I then now have this one that can be folded cuff, and then this much for another one. So out of every 50 gram sock yarn, I can get a pair of fingerless gloves, either with that rolled cuff or the folded cuff. And since she wants 2 pairs, I went ahead and took this yarn I had and did the same business. So I'm going to end up making 4 pairs. And it'll be pretty easy if I make all 4 pairs with just the only finishing I'm going to be doing is the rolled edges and putting in the thumbs. So I'll be able to do those pretty quickly. I'm still trying to finish this one for my daughter to have a kind of a mismatched Oreo cookie set. And they just have a rolled cuff, a short little 1x1 rib, and a thumb hole with no extra knitting. And the ladies at school thought that it was pretty cool. So we'll see about, maybe I'll make some up for, we do like a staff appreciation day and a teacher appreciation day, and we try to support them throughout the year and give them encouragements. I have, even though my son got bullied and I took him out of that school, no school is perfect, and it's a Christian school, and I value them getting that. It's not just about learning about my tradition of Christianity. It's about learning that we show self-control. These are things that aren't taught in public school. It's the reinforcement that somebody else is saying to my kid, hey, you need to have self-control. You need to keep your mouth shut. You need to have self-control. You need to know how to think about somebody else's feelings when you're playing a game. You need to, think about being nice first. I mean, stuff like that. You don't get that in public school. So that has got me very excited. And then I was cranking my last 50 grams to finish up a fingerless mitt that I'm doing with a mocked rib. I don't love it. I'll show you here this other one. If I can reach. Can I reach? Can I stretch? Okay. So this is mock ribbing on the machine. What you do is you just pull out the needle. So it actually, there's no purl between the ribs or the knit stitches. It's just a skipped stitch. And it pulls it in a little bit, and it gives it a ribbed look and a little bit of pull. If you do a very dramatic, like every third needle, or every other needle kind of faux rib on the machine that you crank it, it does pull in quite a bit more. If the whole thing that you're doing is the rib, it pulls in more. And once this is blocked, it will pull in a little bit more. So I'm doing that, and it just stopped. I don't know what's catching in it that won't make it go. I mean, it's very simple. It's like a gear and crank, but that's the deal. And anybody who has one of these will tell you it's not the easiest thing just to crank a tube. And that's why I gave up on my ribber attachment. And I'm thrilled that I did, because it gave me the freedom and motivation to move forward. Do what I can do. So that's part of my motivation. So yay! And then you'll notice at the wall behind me, if you follow me on Instagram, last week I painted it pink. But I took the curtains that I had in here and I moved them into my kitchen, so my kitchen would be just a little bit brighter. And it just didn't work with these curtains. I didn't like it. So then I had to paint it the matching off-white. And we have a small wall by our front door that's also in that kind of darker tan brown. Khaki is the name of the paint. I think I'm going to paint that over with the off-white also. That is predominantly throughout the house. I'm trying to use color as a coping skill and brightness. It's made a big difference with the kids. And what else am I knitting on? Oh, I'm still knitting on my dad's hat. You know, those fingering weight hats don't just knit themselves. So I got it turned, and then I probably have 3 inches done. So I've done, you know, like 9 inches because I turned it. But I have at least 2 more inches to go before I do the decreases, because it's got to be at least 10 inches, and the decreases will give me 2 inches. So this is about 3, this is about 3. So that's 6. 2 for the decreases, that's 8. So I still need a little more than 2 inches. Oh, and I have this pair still that I cranked out. The surprise gift for a specific person at school. And I wanted to talk to her before. She doesn't know. But I'm going to do a little ribbing at the top and then insert the thumb like here. So it's a good amount of the hand is covered. She's a new runner, and I think she'd get a kick out of having that. And then if I have to take this all the way apart, like the cylinder and everything, I'm going to put my bigger cylinder on, my 72. I'm going to crank some tubes for leg warmers for people. A couple of us who remember the 80s, a couple of the teachers have gotten a kick out of, you know, remembering that. So I might make a couple of those pairs. But that's just future stuff. And as you notice, I'm kind of cheerful. I like having a weekend where I get to go in a car and do some stuff. And it was fun going over to Fellowship Square, which is where they're moving, and moving a few things into my other dad's apartment. Seeing a little old man and letting him tell me a joke, and it took forever. And just, I'm going to enjoy being over there more. I'm going to enjoy seeing my other dad more. Because if we're over there with the kids to visit one set of grandparents, we might as well visit the other. Or if the kids are going to go spend an hour or two with that set, I can go spend an hour or two with my dad. I miss that. I can go just sit and have coffee at his place. He doesn't know that yet, but I'm going to do it. And I am a little sad that my mom is moving. It's not as if we socialized a lot in the last 3 years that we've lived near each other. But it was fun for me to be able to ride the little scooter with the kids over there, or walk the dogs and the kids over there and do walking or scooter driving, instead of relying on my stepdad to do car driving to get the kids back and forth to their times with grandma. We try to do one time a week for each kid individually where they get just a few hours. And then there are other times that they're involved with doing activities with the kids, or driving Connor to his gym since he's homeschooled. But it made me feel good. It made me feel like, that I was contributing. And that made me feel good. And I'm going to miss that. And that's the part on me that I'm going to miss. Maybe I'll figure out how to drive over there. It's maybe a mile, but I have to cross big streets. So in Tucson, you have like residential streets, but you also have big streets. These streets have like 6 lanes, medians. It's just poorly set up in a way for being such a big city. And people are crabby drivers here. So it's a little scary to me I don't drive in the street, I drive in the sidewalk. Unless I'm in a residential neighborhood where there's very little traffic. But to get over there, I definitely have to cross at least 2, possibly 3 bigger intersections. And that just kind of freaks me out. But I may do it because, come on, I'm 48 years old. I shouldn't be scared of things. But I am. And once again, driving home last week, coyote ran right in front of the thing. Now, the coyote wasn't even big as Sadie, but still, jeez. So that's it. That's my knitting news. I have gotten this sweater out of its hold. It's sitting on my little table that my husband made. I'm trying to figure out how to move forward, because I think the idea that I had was just plain stupid. So I think I'm going to frog down here, and just get to a point where I'm straight across and just keep knitting. And then this double pocket, I may undo that and just do a one-sided pocket. But I'm thinking that that's what I'm going to have to do to finish that and be motivated to finish it. Which reminds me, have you ever seen this UK lady? She's on Instagram. I believe her last name is Celine. I don't know how to pronounce it. Kate Celine. She is a riot. She does, in her Instagram stories, that's where she does like her podcast. She's a dyer. She does speckled yarns and tonal yarns. I mean, her speckled yarns are crazy. So I ordered some, but it's the UK, so it's, I ordered like over a month ago. So that'll be a fun unboxing. But she is a riot. You've got to watch her. She is just a riot. And she was saying the other day, she likes to knit tubes. She knits a lot of little tubes with ribbing on both ends. She knits a lot of socks. She knits, she's knitting this gargantuan tube, and then she's going to steek it. She did it before. She made a cardigan. So she's motivated me to to do something similar. And she said it's very hard for her to finish a project when she gets a picture of it in her head. It's almost as if she's done, or if she's knitting it up and she doesn't get it quite like the picture, it kind of slows her down. And I wonder if I'm not the same way, because she talks about how she really can't follow a pattern. So she just has to make her stuff up on her own. And I think that that's me to some extent too. And when I start and I don't know how it's going to end, that keeps me motivated in making those changes. So that's my 2 cents. Go check her out. She is a riot. I want to see her hair. She wears these things over her hair, and her hair looks big. And it's like that, you know, Rosie Riveter, I can do anything kind of head thing. Snood. She's from Britain. Snood, maybe. I don't know. But I will show you that not only did I paint that wall white, but I painted it pink. And then look at what I did. I put my little crocheted piece right as a backdrop. Isn't that fun? And then I painted one of the, see this? I'll see if I can hold you. At least it's solid metal. I mean, it's solid. It's like still in the 1800s stage. So we have a table in our living room. I love it. The kids like to sit there and do art together. You can sit down and play a game. And yes, we have a dining room, but it's just a fun way to get everybody in the same room, which doesn't happen as much these days because people don't want to sit down and watch the same show. They all want to watch their own shows. See my new curtains? Aren't they light and bright and pretty? I won't show you the one on the main window that Magnus is ripping apart with his fingernails. Oh, and here. We also got a new chair in the dining room from my mom's house. See that big chair? And we recovered it with a thicker pad from my husband. So we had some pad left over. And here's a sheet that Magnus chewed up. So we had some pad left over. Do you watch the Knit Girls with 3 L's? I'm not knitting or crocheting it. I'm just going to cover it with the Magnus sheet. Do you see it? Do you know what it is? Whoop! It's a cat couch. We're making a cat couch. Because it's fun and my husband and I can do it together, and he's pretty creative too. So yeah, so that's the deal. Look with your heart first today.